incidents, one in Odisha, the other in Himachal Pradesh, exposing the Gundaism by netas towards bureaucrats. As I pointed out, Odisha's additional commissioner of Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation brutally assaulted by a BJP corporator and his supporters. Arrests have been made in that case. And then today in Himachal Pradesh, an NHAI official was assaulted in the presence of a Congress state minister, Anirudh Singh. Terrible, both of those incidents, a real shame that happened in both these cases. Is this Netagiri or Gundagiri? Has politics become a license for Gundaism? Who will stop this abuse of power? Let's get a quick takeaway from Raghav Chandra, former chairman NHAI, former IAS officer. T.R. Raghunandan is also former IAS officer. I want to get these two IAS officers to tell me how they view what has been happening. First to you, Raghav Chandra, because you saw that NHAI official who was very badly beaten up, allegedly by people close to the minister in Himachal. How do you respond as a former chairman of the NHAI, sir?
It's absolutely reprehensible, condemnable, quite inexplicable, totally unjustifiable, and I feel that it is absolutely, not expected of a politician or anybody in authority to behave like that with a civil servant, with a public servant who's only doing his duty, because this sets off the wrong, creates distrust. It spoils the morale of not only that individual, but of everybody around. And most importantly, it should be treated as a criminal event rather than just an exercise of public duty by the political authority. So the law should take its turn. There are serious legal channels by which redress can be found by anybody who's aggrieved by an officer. In this case, there is no clear reason why the political minister should have been aggrieved by any action of this officer. He's just a young man with 7 or 8 years of service, recruited through the Union Public Service Commission as an All India Engineering Service officer. He has high expectations of being able to do his duty diligently, honestly, and fairly. And the National Highways is doing a lot of important work in Himachal Pradesh. I'm told they're doing something like 20 projects worth about 25,000 crores. And clearly this should not have happened. Happy to say that Gadkari ji, the minister, has written a very comprehensive letter to the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, where he has very clearly pointed out that if protection and support cannot be given to civil servants who are doing their duty, then the state will lose the support of the government of India to complete the projects in the state. And I think that should be how it should be. It should be dealt with as a criminal event on the one hand, and seriously and strictly.
So the minister should be criminally prosecuted. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, very, very strong words there. T.R. Raghunandan, where are these politicians getting the impunity? It's generally their supporters doing it. We saw this in Odisha yesterday. We've seen it in Himachal Pradesh now. Is it the belief that because they are proximate to power, they can get away with anything else? Where do you think they get the impunity to target an additional commissioner and beat him up in this manner, or indeed an NHAI official?
The impunity comes from the behavior of higher level politicians. Unfortunately, over the past decade or so, we've seen higher level politicians dog whistling, indulging in unacceptable behavior, saying some terribly provocative things, and the media has highlighted it further. So what has happened is that there is a lot of voyeurism now. The people of India seem to be quite enjoying this kind of public display of violence, and it's become so much that every day people look forward to the next violent event which they can gloat over, or shall I say enjoy on their TV screens. I mean, the way that our higher level politicians have encouraged troll armies, IT cells heaping abuse, rape threats, uh, lynching and things like that. And now what is happening is that this is spilt over, and the administration
So you're saying something very important. You're saying there is a normalization that has taken place where people believe they can get away with it.
Absolutely. And even to some extent, though, my heart goes out to this particular officer who is sadly the helpless victim of this kind of a trend. But even the administration, some of the things that the administration have said and done are totally unacceptable in a civilized society. Things like bulldozer justice. I mean, have you ever heard of these terms a decade back? No, we never did. The point is that the rule of law has broken down completely. This kind of alpha male macho behavior on behalf of many people. You see, it's not merely that an attack has happened. There are people actually recording this, and it's another thing that you got this to put it on TV, but I'm sure this has already been circulated on social media, and people are counting the hits they are getting on their sites. Violence has
Right.
become a paying business on social media.
Absolutely. You're making very, very, both these officers, I hope everyone out there is listening. These are very strong points being made by two senior IAS officers, because this impunity must stop. Raghav Chandra, you see, the worry, of course, is that at the end of the day, because the politicians control the system, the bureaucrat is beholden to the politician. And therefore, even if he tries to, in some way, raise his voice, he will have few options. At best, he'll get transferred instantly. Do you believe that, therefore, there's a complete asymmetry in power between the top politician and an NHAI official, or indeed an additional commissioner of police, additional municipal commissioner?
Even if there is an asymmetry of power, which there is, the rule of law does not permit assault or anything like this, where people abrogate and indulge in anything as criminal as assaulting an official. And so, therefore, this should be largely dealt with at the level of a criminal case. Action should be taken both politically, that is a separate matter for the political party to establish its credibility by saying that they abide by the rule of law, and therefore they are taking action against their respective political people who have indulged in this. But purely from the police point of view, strict action should be taken, because this is a criminal matter, and that is the only way that this asymmetry can be bridged, and some amount of reasonableness and some amount of trust can be built in, which is very necessary for a civilized, ethical, progressive society where India is poised to take off in this century. If we are to achieve the economic goals that we've set ourselves for, we must not only be good, but appear to be good.
I want to ask you, Mr. Raghunandan, therefore, in conclusion, why don't IAS officers associations come together, use the might of IAS officers present and past to speak out against politicians? These are the issues where you would expect your collective to speak out in a way that there is a red line that is drawn.
Oh, I am sorry that that doesn't happen, Rajdeep. I have been the secretary of an IAS association in the past, and I find that what happens is that IAS officers very often, I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but very often they stop just short of outright condemnation of politicians, and that is because a lot of senior officers are within the zone of consideration for higher level posts, and so they do not want to say anything harsh about politicians lest they lose their career opportunities. I'm very sorry to say this, but the IAS is very competitive. The IAS is very career minded, and sometimes people play strategic games, and they do not want to get on the what they believe is a wrong side of politicians, particularly when they are in the zone of consideration for higher posts. And this is extremely sad. I myself have been part of, I mean, I've seen some of these things at close quarters in earlier instances, none of such a terrible nature, but in earlier instances where officers were subjected to injustice, there is often no consensus on an outright condemnation, and there are always people who would like to soft pedal it. I'm quite skeptical about IAS associations taking this up in a very big way. They
You know,
should, but they don't.
yeah, I haven't seen two officers engage in such plain speaking in a long time. Maybe when you retire, you have more, you have the space to speak out. I don't say that in any other way, but I really feel that a lot of what you have said should be heard by IAS officers as well as by those in power. At the end of the day, our netas need to change. The lumpenization of politics has gone far enough. These two incidents in Odisha and Himachal Pradesh only highlight the extent of what was once described as what is really seen as a really serious crisis of our political class. I appreciate, therefore, both of you, sirs, joining me. Thank you so much for joining me on this Who will stop the abuse of power? It must be the quality of the people in power. Thank you both very much for joining me here on the news.